Hey everybody, welcome back to round 39 of Inside the Clinch. Eric and Johnny back for another week of MMA action. I know we missed you guys last week, but we will make up for all that and more on this episode of Inside the Clinch. Johnny, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I missed you last week, and I like that new setup you have in the background.
Thank you. Yeah, small studio upgrades little by little. I think by next week it's going to look a little bit nicer than it does now. But
Yeah,
we're making changes, man.
yeah, your setup shits on my setup. Like you got the GoPro going on, you got the nice scenery in the background. I just got this plain wall, you know.
One day, brother, we will make it to the top. We'll get our professional studio, but until then, we have to make do with what we can get.
But yeah, man, I missed you. How's your week been?
It's been a hectic week. Definitely not fun, but as always, this is the hour or two that you and I get to break away from reality and just talk shit about MMA and what's going on and who's calling who out. And couldn't do it with a better person than you, man.
Thank you, man. I know there was a little tragedy in your family. I know your great grandmother passed away, so my condolences to you and your family. Must be tough. But
thank you. Yes, appreciate it, Johnny.
There's a lot to talk about in the MMA world, not just the MMA world. We had some boxing as well, so a lot to digest this week.
Yeah, we had Derek Brunson versus Darren Till go down on September 4th. It was a great fight. We'll get to that in a second. Also on that card, Paddy the Baddy made his UFC debut. Very highly anticipated MMA fighter. So we'll get into all that. Like you mentioned, yeah, we had Anderson Silva knocking out Tito Ortiz, and then we had Vitor Belfort beating up on a grandpa in Alexander Holyfield. So, let's start with last week's UFC action. Blonde Brunson gets another W. The dude is looking fantastic as of late. I don't know about you, but I feel like Blonde Brunson has become the kryptonite of all the strikers in the middleweight division. To be honest, I know if you guys were listening to our last episode, it sounded like I was not very high on Derek Brunson. But to be honest, after watching this fight, I take back a lot of things that I said last episode. Blonde Brunson has definitely improved. He's not just a good grappler anymore.
Why do you keep calling him Blonde Brunson? What does that mean?
So if you haven't noticed, he's been on a streak ever since he colored his hair.
Oh, Blonde Brunson. I'm like, what's a Blonde Brunson?
Yeah, man, it's a completely different Derek Brunson now. I mean, look, ever since he got his hair colored, he's undefeated, and he's beating some of the best strikers with his grappling. Earlier on in his career, he was a great grappler, but he wasn't really able to mix it in with his striking to the point where he can hang with some of these top level strikers. But as we're seeing now, the dude is looking great.
Yeah, not only is he winning, he's looking a lot more confident now. He's posting a lot of things on social media, basically like, gassing himself up, and like he has a good reason now. He's on a five-fight winning streak. Just defeated Darren Till, who was one of the biggest prospects a few years ago. So, as you mentioned, man, crazy streak that he's on, and he's definitely a threat in the division right now.
To be honest, I was a huge fan of Darren Till, but I don't know where he stands in the UFC division anymore. The dude has not been performing great as of late. He's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, I believe. Which, look, he is losing to some of the greatest competition in the division, but he's not performing well as of late, especially relative to the amount of crap that he's talking. I don't know. I went early on in his career. I know you were a little bit skeptical on his career, but I thought he was going to hold the belt one day. At least that's what it looked like at the time. But I don't know, man. As of late, it's hard to still see that Darren Till can potentially grab a belt before he retires.
But this was the reason why I was skeptical on him, is because like I always knew that he was a phenomenal striker, but like he does lack in the wrestling, and that was always the case with him. But yeah, I personally don't see him being even a top. He's not ranked in the top 10, I believe, right now, and I don't see him beating anyone in the top 5 either.
Darren Till is number 8. I'm looking at the UFC website now.
He's ranked at number 8. So I don't see him beating anyone in the top 5 as of right now. Like he needs to get his wrestling, at least his wrestling defense together to be a threat in the division.
I know this is something you and I mentioned last week on our Instagram account, but why not set Darren Till up with Kevin Holland? Both guys are good strikers that have been lacking a little bit in their grappling and wrestling department. Both of them clearly know that that's the hole in their game that they need to fix. So why not set the both of them up in the meantime? I think ranking wise, it makes sense. Darren Till isn't really he's not a highly ranked star anymore. So, him fighting a newbie in Kevin Holland wouldn't be the most outrageous thing in my opinion. And I think we'll see a great fight between the two of them, and hopefully they'll be working on their grappling until they fight an opponent after that.
I mean, I would agree with you. I think that's a great fight to make. Obviously, both fighters are not great wrestlers, but one thing that's coming out of Darren Till's corner, I'm not really sure who started this rumor, but is that he has a torn ACL right now. So it doesn't really matter who he's going to fight next because he's injured. I don't know I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it was ever verified, but he said that he came into the fight against Derek Brunson with a torn ACL, which I thought was kind of messed up because it's kind of discrediting everything that Brunson's worked for,
So a couple things on that, actually. So I don't think that maybe he did injure his knee in camp. Obviously, people get injured, but I don't think the ACL was the issue here. Darren Till, he seemed to be moving okay from what I saw when we were standing up. It didn't look like an injured leg was the reason that was stopping him from getting back up on his feet. So I don't really know how much I buy into him having a torn ACL as the reason that he lost his fight. Also, I think something Chael Sonnen mentioned, this was mentioned on Chael Sonnen's show. What the hell do the doctors check for? Like, I don't know, because there's been multiple times lately where fighters have been coming out right, like immediately after the fight saying, yeah, I had an injury, or like, this was torn, or that was broken, or this was fractured. Like, what are the medics, like, what are these reports looking for? Like, isn't the whole point of getting cleared for a fight is to look at the fighter, say, hey, he's medically okay, both physically he's in shape, mentally he's, everything checks out. What are they looking for if, so many of these injuries and everything are coming out literally immediately after these fights go down? I don't get it.
Yeah, the thing about it is that these fighters hide their injuries, and they're not going to go and MRI every single fighter before their fight. You know what I mean? That's the only way they would know that he has a torn ACL. So he hit it before, but as you said, like, I'm not going to say he's lying because, I mean, that's a pretty outrageous lie to make, but
I just think that wasn't the reason that he lost. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's definitely not the reason that he lost, but coming off an ACL, like a newly injured ACL, that's a devastating injury. It's
at least a year, I think, right?
I don't know if it's a year. It is a year in the sports like basketball and stuff like that. Athletes take off a year for that. So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really see him being too compromised. Nothing in the fight really showed me that, besides him not being able to defend any of the takedowns. Maybe that was the reason he couldn't defend any takedowns, but personally, I don't really buy into that. And I think, as I said, it's discrediting everything that Derek Brunson's worked for.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think, like I said, if that injury happened in camp, that's one thing, but to use that as an excuse as to why he lost his fight, I don't buy into that. So what do we do with Derek Brunson, man? It's now 5 in a row. He's currently ranked number, let's see, according to the UFC website. He's ranked number
4.
So he's ranked number 4 right now. I know he's asking for a rematch with the champ. I'm not opposed to that idea. Unfortunately, I think Izzy Adesanya versus Whitaker 2 is official, right? So we're waiting for that to play out. But we do have Jared Cannonier, who's also thinks that he's next in line for the shot. I think both of those guys, if they want, they can fight each other for the number 1 contender spot. I think that's the only fight that makes sense for both fighters right now outside of the title picture. So I say sign them up and make it a number 1 contender fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the fight to make because Jared Cannonier is coming off a win over Gastelum right now. Paulo Costa, who's ranked, I believe, 2 or 3, he has a fight booked with Marvin Vettori. So there's no one really there for him to fight. I know that he wants a title fight with Israel Adesanya now, but honestly, like he did win 5 fights in a row since losing to Israel Adesanya, but I think he needs one more fight to make the claim for the title shot again. And I'm not sure if Whitaker and Izzy is a done deal, but like everybody knows that that's the next fight to. Yeah, everybody knows that's the next fight to make, and I personally want to see that fight as opposed to this one. So I think he needs to fight one more time. Jared Cannonier, I think he could win that fight. It's a very winnable fight for him, and he could go from there. But he's looking phenomenal right now, and he's beating some big names. Just look at this list. He'll beat Till, Holland, Edmund Shabazian, Ian Heich, and Theodoro. Those are some pretty big names in the division, and that's coming off a loss, 2 consecutive losses. That's something impressive, man.
Yeah, like I said, Blonde Brunson is a completely different guy from Derek Brunson. He is, like I said, the kryptonite to the middleweight strikers. He's just been doing phenomenal work, and I love to see it, man. I wasn't very high on him, as you may have heard in our last episode, but a lot of what he did last weekend changed my mind for sure.
I think, to be honest, I think that he's been this fighter I don't think he's ever going to be the champion or anything like that. I mean, I actually don't know. I
if you
kind of
asked
take
me
that
last
back.
week, if you asked me last week, I said I don't know. I don't think he can beat Izzy, but absent of Izzy,
Maybe he could though. Maybe.
I don't know about that. Well, look, again, if he can grapple Izzy the way he grappled these last few strikers, Till, Holland, like those guys, he has that would have to be his key to victory. I mean, he's not going to stand there and strike with Izzy. We know that. But look, he's been getting his grappling to work against these strikers. It's just a lot of improvement I've been seeing from Brunson at this point of his career, and I'm loving to see it.
Yeah, so Brunson and Israel Adesanya fought in 2018, and we both know how that ended up. He lost first round.
I was in the building for that. No, it wasn't first round. It was second round. That shit was crazy, though.
Yeah, was it? I think it was first round.
I think it was second round.
Let me double check. Pretty sure it was first round.
You're right, 451 in the first, yes.
Yeah, so what Derek Brunson said is that apparently before that fight, there was some hurricane around his neighborhood or something along those lines, and he wasn't able to train for the past 2 weeks. Again, that's another excuse, just like the ACL, similar to that, but like maybe he does, maybe it has some validity to it. So put them back, match them up again, and I feel like it's going to be an exciting fight if Izzy beats Whitaker. I mean, Whitaker is looking amazing right now.
A lot of big fights in the middleweight division. But John, let's move on to another fight that went down on that card. A very, very bright prospect in the heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall. I mean, this guy, I think he's relatively young for the division. A lot of the top contenders at heavyweight are older, they're in their 30s. They have a lot of experience. But
average age 34.
And this dude,
he's 28.
He's 28. He's like a kid in that division. I mean, he moves phenomenal for that weight class. He's currently on a 7-fight winning streak. 4 of those fights are in the UFC, defeating names like Spivak and Arlovsky. The kid is rising fast. He has a lot of power. He has a very, very strong jiu-jitsu base that he actually learned from his father. I mean, this guy, he's just a jaw-dropping prospect in the heavyweight division, in my opinion. What did you think of the fight?
This guy's the real deal, man.
Hell yeah.
If not the future UFC champion, definitely a contender. Like, he's very well-rounded, as you said. Great in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, great in the wrestling department, great in the striking, pretty much great everywhere. And he's young, and he's not rushing to get to the top. He wants to fight a guy that's just right ahead of him. He's not chasing for that title fight. He's not chasing for the top 5 contender. And I feel like that's a smart move in a way. It could backfire, I feel like, if he loses to one of these people, but I don't really see that happening.
So he got the TKO at 2 minutes and 30 seconds in the first round. He dropped Spivak with a beautiful elbow at close range. They were actually inside the clinch, no pun intended. He dropped a very nice elbow, completely dropped Spivak on his ass, and he just rushed him and followed with the ground and pound. And dude, halfway into the first round, he made Spivak look like he was just some non-content, someone that didn't belong in the rankings at all. And we know Spivak is the real deal. He's not just some bum that they found out in the middle of the roster, like, hey, we need to give this dude a fight. Spivak is the real deal. And I think Tom Aspinall just made him look like he didn't even belong in there.
Yeah, Spivak is definitely the real deal. He was coming into this fight on a 3-fight winning streak. But Tom Aspinall, man, he's something special. I feel like I know he wants to take it slow, but I feel like he's already top 5 in the division. But you know what I really like about him? And this is not to talk shit about any of the Aussie fighters, but if you look at like Michael Bisping, if you look at this new kid Patty, who we're gonna talk about in a second, but all these guys are like very arrogant, very cocky. He's a really nice dude, and he admits being nervous before the fight. He admits not being the best and all that stuff. He admits to being a regular person, which I really like about him.
Yeah, Tom Aspinall, he's a very likable guy. I feel like the newer heavyweights like Cyril Gane, like we have Tom Aspinall now, they're very, very polite. It's the opposite of what you would expect from the biggest and scariest guys in the craziest sport. But hey, man, like I always say, I love to see that kind of stuff.
And Ngannou as well.
Like, yeah, and Ngannou as well. Like, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, there's like big teddy bears, all these guys, man.
So Tom Aspinall is currently ranked number 11. In my opinion, I was just looking at the rankings. You have Chris Dukas at number 10, Augusto Sakai at number 9. The Sakai fight would be interesting, but Sakai is currently on a 2-fight losing streak. But at number 8, we have Marcin Tybura, who I think would be a very interesting matchup. Tybura's on a 5-fight winning streak himself. So I think that might be an interesting fight to set up. I'm just quick thoughts without doing too much research on, I guess, too much of an in-depth comparison on the two guys. I think that Aspinall would probably be too big and too strong for Marcin Tybura. but I got to do a little bit more research before I confidently say that.
Listen, I'm gonna go with Tom Aspinall. No, that's not to discredit anything that Tabor did. I think Tabor is a phenomenal fighter, but Tom Aspinall, he's an athletic big guy. He's not just like a heavy hitter. He's not just a wrestler or a Brazilian practitioner. He's an athlete at the end of the day, and I feel like that's gonna carry a lot of weight in the division.
I agree. Also on that card, we had Alex Morono getting a unanimous decision win over David Zawada. It was actually a very interesting fight. So the fight after that, we had Modestas Bukakas taking on Khalil Roundtree Jr. This fight got a lot of controversy for the way that it ended. Not so much about who the winner should be, but the legality, I guess, of how Khalil Roundtree won. We've seen an oblique kick yet again. This is something utilized by people like John Jones, something that he likes to use a lot. And we've seen a lot of people injure their legs. So
yeah, the oblique kick is basically you aligning your foot perpendicular to the person's thigh or knee, and it makes the leg moving in a way that it's not supposed to move.
Yeah, it pretty much bends your knee almost inwards with all your weight on top of it. It leads to serious injury. I think this is the first time in MMA, at least in the UFC, that we've seen a fight get stopped because of this. Bukakas, I mean, tough guy, but he just got kicked, and we literally saw his knee just bend almost backwards, and the guy dropped. And the fight, thank God, the referee stepped in immediately and stopped that fight. But I hope there was no serious injury. I hope there could be potentially knee reconstruction surgery just by the looks of how that knee turned. But I really hope that it's not as serious as it looked.
Yeah, I think they mentioned that he tore his ACL, MCL, all that good stuff. But I don't think it bent backwards. It bent more laterally. But yeah, that kick was devastating. And let's talk about the fight a little bit. So Khalil Roundtree, not only did he win in that fashion, but he was dominating the entire fight.
Yes.
And people were talking about this Modestas Bukauskas kid as being one of the top light heavyweights in the world. So Khalil Roundtree had a different plan for him. And not only did he win in that fashion, I know that's all people want to talk about and the legality of that kick, but Khalil Roundtree looked phenomenal in the fight. He was very dominant, and bright future for him for sure. But that kick, I mean, let's get straight into it. I don't know. Like, what do you think? Do you think the kick should be legal or not?
I don't think it should be illegal. There's some rules that, like, for example, the kick to a downed opponent. I agree with that rule because it's dangerous, especially the soccer kick to the head. The 12-6 elbow, even though I don't completely agree with that rule, I kind of get why it's illegal. Yeah, but like this kick, I don't know. I feel like it should be legal. I feel like that just it being part of the game, I feel like may change the stance for some of the fighters. Maybe they'll stand a little bit more sideways than completely, the karate stance. I don't know. Personally, I don't see anything necessarily malicious about it. Yeah, I mean, the kick is going to do damage. Everything you're going to throw at your opponent is intending to do damage in one way or another. And I don't know. It's not like, I don't know. I don't see any reason for it to be considered illegal. It's painful, but it's the name of the game that we're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, I can't decide if I want this kick to be illegal or illegal so like my stance on for it to be legal is because like, it's the UFC, they're signing up for this shit, and as the other rules that are banned right now, they're mostly to the head or like to the crotch or something like that. But also this kick it's a career altering injury. Like he just tore like every single meniscus, all the ligaments, everything in that knee basically. So like that's a career. It could be a career ending injury, like it's very hard to come back from that. So I mean, I don't know. I can't really decide what I want the MMA commission to do.
Like I said, I personally don't see any reason that it should be considered illegal. I feel like there's some worse things that are okay. You can do a flying knee right into the dude's face. You can, spin an elbow right into the dude's face, and that's fine. I don't know. I feel like it's the name of our game. Like I said, shit happens. You know what I mean? Chris Weidman throws a kick. He snaps his shin. Someone does. I forgot who it was that a spinning back fist one time pretty much broke his forearm on his opponent's forehead. Like
Paige Van Zandt.
Was it Paige Van Zandt? There was a guy. I feel like men's fight that happened. There was a men's fight that happened in as well. I forgot who it was though.
Yeah, I'm sure it happened. But Paige Van Zandt, I feel like she does that every single fight, that arm. But yeah. So Andy Foster, who is he? He's like the commissioner he makes the rules for the MMA commission. He's basically saying that they're going to review this. They're going to see how they're going to go forward with this rule. So, I mean, it's subject to change, but I feel like they just have to say that because there's so many people against it right now. But I don't think that anything is going to happen to the rule. And I honestly am kind of indifferent towards it.
As the sport grows more, I feel like obviously there's going to be more and more mainstream media attention. I feel like a lot of these rule changes lately have been in conversation because of, just the mainstream audience isn't used to this sport. I feel like the fans of MMA that have been fans pre-Conor and Rousey era, I feel like they have an appetite for this. They're not as upset by these kind of things. That's just my personal take on it. I feel like it's some of the newer generation fans that are trying to make this more of a friendly sport than the brutal MMA combat sport that it actually is.
Yeah, it's literally what they sign up for. They sign a waiver basically saying that they're ready to die in there. But, I do kind of, like I said, I do feel for the fighters. Like, say that was someone like Israel Adesanya in there, or like a Conor McGregor, like a big name, and you don't want to see them go down like that. And I don't know. It's devastating, but like, I don't know how to go forward from here.
All right, John, let's wrap up the opening fight on this main card that we had. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett finally made his UFC debut. Very longly anticipated debut. The dude was the former featherweight CFFC champion. He's now fighting at lightweight in the UFC.
Bad move.
Bad move. Tell me your thoughts, man. I have plenty to say on this, but let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think that Paddy, I mean, let's be honest. I think he's good. Obviously, he's good. But I do think that he's overrated. He was losing the first round. He was getting dominated in the first round until the very end where there was a flurry of punches. And obviously, he does have knockout power. He is a good wrestler. He has, I believe, 7 submission victories under his belt. So he's well-rounded. But I do think that he's a little overrated. I'm not going to lie. He went from 28,000 followers on Instagram on September 1st. We posted about this on Instagram, and I just checked today. He's over 600,000 followers. What's today? It's September 13th. That's less than 2 weeks, and he gained 600,000 followers. Like, I think he's a little bit overrated. I'm not going to say he's bad or anything like that, but he is entering into the toughest division in the UFC. Some of the baddest fighters. I know the Khabib is not here anymore, but they still got Islam, bro. So, I don't know. Paddy, I feel like he's going to get his ass whooped very soon.
So, personally, I think he is a little bit overhyped, and I'll tell you why. Firstly, he got cracked pretty bad. I think it was 2, if not 3 times in that first round. Luigi Vandermini, I mean, he has had it. If you guys had the volume on, you can just hear those cracks because, this was in the Apex, so there's not much of an audience. We can still hear those impacts.
He fought with his head forward, man. Like DC was saying it the entire time. His head is forward. His head is forward. Like, he's not a good striker, obviously, but continue.
Yeah, so like you said, he was getting dominated most of the first round until that last flurry at the end. And from what I've seen, I haven't watched too much of his CFFC footage. I watched some highlights and a little bit here and there, but I feel like he's very like when he does get very, I guess, when that flurry comes out, when he's jumping in for that looping punch, like he overwhelms his opponent. That's when he gets his, I guess, crazy highlight knockout reels. But to be honest, against a high level striker, he's just gonna get knocked the hell out. You can't rush somebody like that. And like you said, if he doesn't tuck in his chin, he's just going to get knocked out even without rushing his opponent. I don't know. I think that some of the MMA media overhyped this guy kind of to make a new, bring a new star from an outside organization. Ariel Helwani, I feel like was a big guy doing this. But to be honest, so far, I'm not super impressed. Luigi Vendermini, like I said, was a great contender, so it's not a scrub by any means. And I thought he was
not a top dog either.
Dude, I thought he was gonna knock out Paddy Pimblett. Just the sound alone on those punches he was landing on Paddy the Baddy, dude. I thought it was over in the first round.
No, let's be honest. Paddy's hype right now, not because he's a good fighter, it's because of his personality. I'm not gonna say that Conor McGregor was the same way because I think Conor McGregor was a lot better.
Sure.
But a big aspect of why he is why he's trending the way he is because of his personality and the way he talks, the way he presents himself. So, as you said, like he's very susceptible to getting knocked out. He fights with his chin out. It was the whole fight. Like, I'm not a striker, but I could see it, and he's gonna get caught, and it's gonna be very soon. I feel like.
Yeah, there's some very high level strikers in this game, especially at the top of this division. He's fighting, like we said, at lightweight in the UFC. I don't know. That's something. I don't know. Maybe it was the nerves, for the first time, which is very possible.
Nah,
Maybe I don't know what it was, but
he has holes in his game.
Yeah,
A lot of holes in his game.
The kid is young though, so he has time to make adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, but I feel like they're just these holes in his game. It's very hard to improve on. So, I mean, I have nothing against the kid, but I just don't really see what the hype is about. It's kind of unfair for fighters like Islam or like let's go with Islam, like 100 times more skilled than Patty is, but he doesn't get the recognition for it.
Yeah, but I feel like partially that is because Islam doesn't speak English, so he can't engage on social media.
Exactly. That's more that we're not talking about fighting now. We're talking about the way he talks and all that stuff, which is, I guess it's the sport, it's the business. But I mean, best of luck to him. But I'm just giving my opinion. I don't think that he's gonna be a top dog in the division even.
Yeah, I think he may get spoon-fed a few unranked opponents. But I think once another 2 or 3 fights, once we start seeing him against top 15 opponents, even, I think we're going to get the real question answered, whether Patty's the real deal or not. But as it stands, I'm not impressed.
Yeah. Before we move on from this topic, I know that he's a lightweight now, but potential matchup, him versus Sean O'Malley. Who do you have in that fight?
Sean O'Malley, I mean, for sure, Sean O'Malley. From what I've seen, he's a much more high-level striker. I don't see like I said, there's limited footage that I have seen of Patty, but from what I've seen, I don't see how he would beat O'Malley unless O'Malley breaks his own leg again.
Yeah, I mean, Patty, people talk about his wrestling and that we didn't get to see in the fight, but he got taken down in the fight. Like, people could talk about his wrestling all you want, but he got taken down in his first UFC fight. So obviously he's not really great in that department. Maybe he's good, but like, he's susceptible to getting knocked out and he's susceptible to getting taken down. So, I mean, best luck to the kid.
I'm going to give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say it was his debut nerves. So like I said, 1 or 2 more fights. Right. I want to see what this kid's about before I make a solid decision.
Okay. Let's go with that. Let's go with that.
All right, man. That's it for the UFC card. We're going to just talk about the main card because we want to talk about the boxing event that went down this weekend as well. We're going to talk through the co-main and main events. So we had Anderson Silva taking on the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz, laying him flat on his face in the very first round. Man, every time Anderson Silva wins, he just has this happiness in his face that, like, I wish I could be in that level of happiness always. You know what I mean? The guy is just so humble. He's so likable. And based on what we heard in the post-fight interview, hopefully we see a couple more fights before Anderson Silva retires. But I'm very happy for the guy. Couldn't have gone to a better person.
Yeah, look, he had a bad losing streak in the UFC. He wasn't really doing well towards his latter days in the UFC, but 2-0 in boxing now. The counter right was beautiful. Everything that Tito was throwing was missing, and at his age, 46 years old, he looked amazing out there. And as you said, couldn't be happy for the guy. I want to see him continue fighting. He looked like he was 30 years old out there. And he beat Tito Ortiz. Tito Ortiz's punches looked like they were thrown in slow motion. But prior to this, he beat a professional boxer, a champion boxer. Maybe someone that didn't live up to their full potential, but he's a professional boxer. And Tito and Anderson Silva was able to take him out.
So actually, guys, we posted the video on our Instagram. It's Inside the Clinch MMA. So you guys can actually go and see the video of Anderson Silva's knockout power. But from what it was, you basically see Tito Ortiz throwing like that same left hook, like in slow motion. And Anderson Silva was literally ducking, and then bam, hit him with a counter hook, put Tito on his ass. He was hanging on his ropes and then just fell flat on his face. I don't know.
Did you see when he fell flat on his face? Why was he smiling on the floor though?
Was he Tito?
Yeah, if
I didn't notice that.
Just Google Tito Ortiz right now. Probably one of the first pictures that are gonna come up is just him on the floor, and he has like it looks like he has like a little smirk on.
Probably seeing too many stars
that's why, if you remember the other day, I texted you. I asked you, do you think that fight was set up? Because like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say that it was, but
I don't think so. I mean, last time we saw Tito, that was against Chuck Liddell? No, he had one fight after Chuck, but like even in the Chuck fight, his striking did not look anywhere good as near as what it used to. You know, it looked good against a washed up Chuck Liddell, but you know, objectively, I don't think it looked good, and that's what we saw here.
I mean, Tito was never really known for his striking. He's a wrestler, but listen, I mean, I had a lot to say about Tito Ortiz. I talked a lot of shit about him, but whatever. I really don't hate him. So there was a story that came out after the fight. Basically, Tito Ortiz wife needed a seat on the plane or something like that, and Anderson Silva gave a seat to his wife or his girl or whatever that was. I mean, Anderson Silva, what a guy, man.
He's honestly one of the nicest people in and out of the rings. I mean, I can't name a better guy, right? Like he's polite. He's just such a likable guy, just everywhere. Like I said, when I was watching that post-fight speech of his, you know, that smile that he has was it just had so much energy. And I felt some of his happiness just looking at the face that he had when he was giving that post-fight interview, man. I can't explain it. I don't know if you felt the same or not.
I mean, I didn't really catch any of the post-fight interview stuff because I was lagging on the Wi-Fi. I was driving at the time, if you remember, but I'm sure it was awesome. He's an awesome dude, and it definitely looks great still, and I still want to see him fight.
So yeah, then we had the main event. We had Vitor Belfort taking on Evander Holyfield. What a mismatch! What a circus Triller truly is. John, what the hell did you think of that fight?
Listen, man, never in a million years would I have thought that we would see a 58-year-old Evander Holyfield fighting with Vitor Belfort on steroids. Like, I mean, honestly, a lot of people were saying that they thought that Evander Holyfield was going to win because, you know, he was one time one of the best boxers in the world. But
one time, like half a lifetime ago.
58 years old. Like, I know that you said this a bunch of times, but like, how did he get cleared to fight? It's dude, absolutely ridiculous. This is not celebrity boxing anymore. This is dangerous. This is some like Rocky shit. We don't know, Rocky comes back in the 6th movie and fights when he's like 70 years old. Like, this is something like that. Like, who the hell let this guy fight?
Dude, I texted you on Friday. I remember watching the press conference and just listening to Holyfield talk, and I'm just like, dude, Holyfield can seriously get hurt in this fight, if not die. Like, I was seriously concerned that Holyfield could have potentially died if that fight did not get stopped prematurely. I mean, the guy had a phenomenal career. He was a boxing champion and everything, but dude, at 58, you cannot be fighting 44-year-olds that are on TRT. When Holyfield announced that he was training again, that was right around the time that Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. were fighting. And, you know, if you put Holyfield in the ring with them, I would have no problem at all. You know, around the same age, I would consider that to be fair. But when you're putting Holyfield, a 58-year-old guy, in the ring with a 44-year-old that's on TRT, on testosterone, it's a recipe for disaster. And I feel like the outcome of that fight was the best case scenario for the way Holyfield walked out, because I was seriously concerned that he could have taken permanent brain damage up in this fight.
I don't know if that was the best case scenario. I feel like
he didn't really take damage, which was.
I feel like he kind of he's thankfully good. No serious injuries or anything like that. But I feel like that kind of tarnished his legacy because, you know, he was one of the GOATs. You know, he beat Mike Tyson. Did he beat Lennox Lewis? I'm not sure, but
let me pull that up right now.
Lennox Lewis. If he beat Lennox Lewis, I remember being one of the.
He was my favorite heavyweight of all time for sure, Lennox Lewis. Yes, he did fight Lennox Lewis. He has a draw and a loss to Lennox Lewis.
Yep. Okay, regardless of the fact, he was a phenomenal boxer, champion, but it's time catches up to all of us. And 58 years old, man, the guy got washed. And I mean, I'm not gonna take anything away from Belfort. He did his thing. He probably made a lot of money doing it. And now there's talk about him fighting Jake Paul for $25 million, which I don't really get. Like, where's his team coming out? How is his team coming out and saying that? Like, where do they have $25 million from?
So a few different things. So Vitor, I know he's getting a lot of shit probably for this, but to be fair, it was not supposed to be Holyfield in there with him. It was supposed to be Oscar De La Hoya.
Yo, listen, it's not his fault. Like, they put this guy in front of him and he fought. He has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, like I said all over social media this past few days, I have no idea how any athletic commission cleared him to fight. Like, it should not have been sanctioned. But that being said, Oscar De La Hoya was the guy that was supposed to be in there. I kind of still want to see Vitor Belfort versus De La Hoya just because of, this whole fight was built around that main event and how it was going to go down.
I'm gonna watch De La Hoya.
And I don't know, the whole Jake Paul situation, I have never seen a promoter grab the mic, in right after the main event and push a fight, a new fight. If it's a rematch or something, that's one thing. But it looked like the promoter of Triller kind of grabbed the mic from Vitor and said, hey, $25 million or $30 million, whatever it was, Jake Paul will get it done. I want to know what exactly the relationship is between Triller and Jake Paul. I was under the assumption that Jake Paul had like some investment interest, like, he was financially backing Triller. But when he responded saying that he knows that they probably don't have the funds and he wants a proof of funds, that's already making me think that, he's a little bit on the outside of Triller. So I feel like this whole Triller is a circus. Let me just put that out there. Shit show, circus, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. I feel like we need a little bit more clarity on what exactly is going on over there.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know how this promotion exists. There's concerts after every fight. Like,
dude, it's so dragged out.
I mean, I know, but I mean, it's kind of cool in a way, it's something different, but I just don't know how the fuck this shit exists. Like we're getting some, like, people are not understanding this. We're getting some weird fights now, like Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul and Ben Askren.
I think Triller,
Vander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort. Like, what kind of fights are these? Mike Tyson just fought. Mike Tyson just fought recently against Roy Jones Jr. Like,
I think Triller needs to rename themselves as celebrity boxing. They need to be called celebrity boxing. That's basically what they've come down to. At least the way I look at it, they are either human circus or celebrity boxing. Pick your name, but to me, that's how I see it.
But one of the biggest stories of this event was Donald Trump and his son, Donald Trump Jr., commentating the broadcast. I mean, I didn't really get to listen. I heard snippets of it. It was hilarious to me. How was Donald Trump during the broadcast?
So Kevin and his girlfriend actually came over to watch the fight, and they were both super upset that the fight, both the co-main and the main, ended so fast because we barely got to hear, Trump and his son speak. But both in the press conferences during the broadcast, Trump does sound very knowledgeable in the MMA world. For those that don't know, Trump was one of the big reasons that the UFC was able to grow to the length that it did. When Dana White bought the company over, the UFC wasn't able to put on the show anywhere. And Donald Trump was the one guy that said, hey, my venues are more than welcome to be used. It was, I think, the Taj Mahal at the time. And then he had some venues in Vegas. So Donald Trump does have a lot of credit to take for, getting the fight game to the levels that it is today. So I love to hear him on the broadcast, and hopefully we'll hear him sometime in the future. Cause like I said, it was a bit upsetting that it ended so fast.
Yeah, so we just currently lost like 100 listeners just for your comments about Trump. But I mean, it's interesting. It's funny that I don't know what he gained from doing something like that, but I guess it was just for fun. But it's cool. It's interesting. Triller is weird, but it's entertaining.
Yeah, I don't think that would go anywhere outside of Triller because, like I said, human circus. So it kind of seemed okay fitting in there. But yeah.
It's insane that Donald Trump happened and he's talking about beating up Biden. Like, it's what's going on.
Well, it's a lot of nuttiness, but look, it's Trump we're talking about. You know what I mean? Did you expect anything like calm or civil? Like, I don't know. I liked him on the broadcast. I feel like if Triller does have a future event, why not invite Donald Trump or his son back on?
No, now they're talking about having Barack Obama and Clinton.
Fuck all that. Look, okay, Donald Trump, I'm not saying every broadcast, but he has some relation to the fight sport. So he has, some level of understanding. I don't know, maybe Barack Obama's is, but then past Barack Obama, what are you going to go? Bush? You going to go Clinton? Like, how far
I wouldn't mind. I would agree with you that there's a point that you're making that Donald Trump has a relationship to the UFC and combat sports and all that. But I mean, like, it's like seeing Clinton or seeing Barack Obama commentate one of these things. Like, wouldn't you want to see that? That'll be fucking hilarious.
I mean, look, if they're well versed and they know what they're talking about, sure, but I
don't give a shit if they're well versed or not. Like, it's on Triller. They can say whatever they want. Oscar De La Hoya walks around drunk out of his mind talking on the broadcast. Like, there's no rules in Triller. So, like, get them all on. It's hilarious, and I can't believe it's happening.
That's fair enough. All right, John, let's move on to this upcoming UFC card. Let's just give our thoughts on the main event, and then we'll give a couple of quick news topics. This weekend, we have UFC Fight Night, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. How do you think that fight's going to go down?
I mean, Smith has been looking great as of late, but so has Ryan. So has Ryan Spann. I believe he's like 5-1 in the UFC or something along those lines. Smith is on a 2-fight winning streak, defeating Crute in his last fight, and prior to that, he defeated Devin Clark. Smith, 33 years old, has, I believe, over 50 fights under his resume. I'm honestly, it's hard for me to decide who is going to win this fight. I could see a good scenario for both fighters, but I think I'm going to have to go with Anthony Smith on this fight. I feel like if Ryan Spann was a better wrestler or a better grappler, I don't think he is that. And I feel like Smith is just too experienced, and I feel like that's going to be the difference in the fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the experience is going to be the major gap in this fight. Look, Ryan Spann is good. Like, he had a big win over Misha Serkinov, which was his last fight. It was a knockout in the first round, a minute into the first round, which got him performance of the night bonus. He looked great in that fight. But the fight before that, he did lose to Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker isn't a bum necessarily, but he's not the highest level in that division. So if we see him, struggling with some names like Johnny Walker, I wonder if he can handle the experience that Anthony Smith possesses. But aside from that, Ryan Spann has wins over Sam Alvey, Anthony Nogueira. So, I mean, look, he has some experience, but nothing compares to the 51 fights that we see with Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith's coming off a win against Jimmy Crute, which is another high-level prospect.
I did not. I was going 100% for Crute in that fight, and Smith surprised me. And, I feel like he's a hot and cold type of fighter. Like, sometimes he shows up, other times he doesn't. So I don't know what version of Anthony Smith is going to show up for this fight, but if it's anything close to the fight with Jimmy Crute, I feel like it's going to be an easy night for him.
Look, in my opinion, I feel like Anthony Smith, he's not a bad fighter, but he had one hot streak, was on that title run, and then his title fight against John Jones. After that, I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like he was not performing as well after his fight against John Jones. There was the Glover Teixeira fight where he got literally his teeth knocked out. He lost to Rakic. So I don't know, Anthony.
Sure. He got absolutely demolished in that Teixeira fight. Like,
yeah. So look, I don't know. Like, I feel like his better days are behind him, but the guy still has, I feel like, enough fight in him to at least put up a fight. I don't know. I think the experience for Anthony Smith is going to prevail, but like you said, it's going to depend which Anthony we see step in. Ryan Spann is no walk in the park. He's a very tough dude. But I think I agree with you. I think I'm going to go with Anthony Smith for this fight. All right, guys. Now let's move on to what Johnny likes to call the news nuggets. Got a bit of news going on this week. Firstly, want to talk about Jeanette Zacarias. She was an 18-year-old Mexican boxer that unfortunately passed away 2 weeks ago on Thursday. She was fighting she had a boxing bout against Marie-Pierre Howell, which ended up in her unfortunately getting a TKO loss. And then, as we posted on our social media, she started seizing as they were trying to get her back to the corner. And, after that, she went into a 5-day medically induced coma, and eventually she passed away, which was very, very tragic. A lot of controversy going on here. She did get knocked out last May in another boxing fight. And I know she did have to go through some kind of medical clearances, neurological clearances to get approval to fight in this bout. So that is definitely getting looked into now. But yeah, very unfortunate situation for 18-year-old Mexican boxer, Jeanette Zacarias.
Yeah, devastating way to go out. As you said, she wanted to continue fighting after that loss in May. But she was fighting a pretty good boxer from what I know. I don't really know much about her, but she's 4-0. She looked pretty good in that fight. But it's really sad to see someone go out like that. I'm not really sure what it was. Maybe it has something to do with the weight cut issue, because I know that I've been reading about fighters when they lose weight, their brain shrinks. There's studies going around about that. And when their brain shrinks, when they get hit, their skull smashed, their brain smashed into their skull, and that's how a lot of devastating injuries happen. I'm not sure if that's what the case was, but whatever it was, it's devastating. We don't want to see it. And 18 years old, very sad. And not only do I feel sad for her, I feel sad for her opponent because, you know, she has that on her conscience now, killing somebody. She came on social media and said that she's obviously devastated about that, but it's horrible to see something like that happen.
Yeah, there was something that someone commented on our social media, which I was not able to confirm. But someone said that her opponent, the Canadian fighter Marie-Pierre Howell, that she had a history of being on steroids or PEDs. Now I don't know this for sure, so don't quote me on this. But if that comment is true, and this fighter does have a history of using supplements, this could be a much more serious situation. You know what I mean? It may not be just an accidental thing that happened during a sanctioned bout. If you're using enhanced performance enhancers, that's a whole different ball game. She could potentially be charged or God knows what else. But like I said, I don't know this for certain. I wasn't able to confirm this, so can't say that with complete certainty.
Yeah, so I actually read a few articles on this prior to recording this, but I didn't see anything about that even come up. That was something that I was actually looking for.
Okay, so maybe it was wrong.
I didn't see anything like that come up. Well, maybe it is true, but I mean, I really hope not. It's a horrible way to go out.
Yeah, it was just a very unfortunate circumstance. I think the most upsetting thing was how young she was. You know what I mean? 18 years old. That's practically a child. It's just very, very unfortunate. And look, I wish there's something we could do, but realistically, what can be done? I don't know if maybe there need to be bigger gaps between fights, or if you were knocked out, you need to have a limited amount of time off before you return to your next fight. Other than that, I don't really know what we can do for something like this, but very tragic, and hopefully not something that happens again.
Listen, I know that you're saying it, hopefully it's not going to happen again, but it is going to happen again. It's the name of the game. It's combat sports. That happens in boxing, I feel like, pretty frequently. So I don't know how we could prevent that. It's just a sport. We're not going to cancel the sport.
Yeah.
But it's sad to see. And something I read about this, Jeanette, the 18-year-old that passed away, she was only going to make $1,400 on this fight. So that's another sad thing. I know that doesn't really matter anymore, but it's just, the whole story is very crazy. And our condolences. I speak on behalf of both of us to her family, her friends, and everybody that knew her.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's very tragic. But let's switch over to a little bit more positive news. So Alex Pereira signs with the UFC. For those that don't know him by name, this is the man that has 2 wins over the middleweight champion, Israel Adesanya. He has a decision win and a knockout win over the standing champion. So a lot of questions are going to be happening right now, whether Alex Pereira can get to the title shot, and if he can, how will he perform against the middleweight dominant champion, Israel Adesanya? What do you think?
As Khabib likes to say, if you don't know, now you know, brother. So Alex Pereira is going to be, I feel like Israel Adesanya is kind of shitting his pants right now. Like, he does have 2 losses to him. Israel Adesanya, like, it's going to be a kickboxing match. Israel Adesanya is not going to fight. He's not going to grapple him in there. So I feel like if odds mean anything, Alex Pereira should win the fight for the 3rd time. So, I mean, it's crazy how this is even happening. Never would I have thought that he was going to come to UFC, but I'm happy that he is. And that's not because I don't like Israel Adesanya, which I do. I like Israel Adesanya a lot, but it's just exciting news.
Alex Pereira, he is 3-1 in MMA currently. He's had 2 or 3 fights in Jungle Fight and 1 fight in LFA. He's 1-0 in pro boxing and 33-7 in kickboxing. So pretty impressive record. He's 34 years old. So, he's pretty much at his athletic prime. And look, he did beat Izzy 2 times in a very decisive way. Now, this was a long time ago. We have seen Izzy, even in his striking, make a lot of improvements. So the question is, has Alex been able to keep up with those improvements? Was he improving at a better rate, or, did he stagnate? I have not been following his career that closely. So I'm not sure where he stands, I guess, how much improvement he's gone through over the last couple of years. But I think time is going to be a factor here as well. You know what I mean? This wasn't a fight that happened last year or the year before. We're a few years removed from them fighting. So both fighters perhaps have different styles. There could be a lot of changes. So obviously the 2 prior fights are good basis for like predicting how this fight would go in the UFC. But I would take it with a bit of a grain of salt just because of the amount of time that's passed.
Hopefully, we're gonna find out very soon. Alex Pereira is set to make his UFC debut on November 6th against Andreas Michaelis, a Greek fighter, a Greek prospect, currently 17-4. So let's see how he matches up against him, and then we'll make our assumptions after that.
Yeah, I'm excited. Look, it's not very often we get prospects from other sports coming into the UFC. You know, sometimes we'll get like, you know, post Olympians, or we'll get some world champions. But when you get someone that's been, you know, kickboxing for as long as Alex Pereira has, switching over to MMA, especially at 34, like we said, he's not a young guy. So although I'm not expecting Izzy to grapple with him, there will be some grappling contenders that he's going to have to get through in order to get to the title shot. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he deals with that.
Yeah, and also something worth mentioning, he's coming off a loss on September 4th. He fought Artem Vahitov in Glory 78. He lost via split decision. So, like I said, we'll see how he matches up in the UFC.
So, John, before we wrap up this round of Inside the Clinch, we had another interesting MMA debut go down this past weekend. Alana McLaughlin made her MMA debut. For people who are unaware of who this is, this person was a male, actually was in the U.S. Special Forces up until 2010, when he left the Special Forces and decided to have a gender transition to a female. Alana claimed that she was trying to be the sport of transgender sports, which has kind of been, I guess, her mission in a way. There's been a lot of controversy about her debut. Although she almost lost in the first round, she was able to get a rear naked choke submission win in the second round. We posted about it yesterday, and a lot of people chimed in and didn't have anything nice to say. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of criticism. What do you think of this whole situation?
Listen, I have nothing against transgender people or any people altogether, but like, this is just basic science. Like, a male is stronger than a female. Like, that's not to be sexist or anything like that. But if you look at her, before he turned into a she, he was a pretty like built guy. He was like a pretty strong male, he looked like. And also he was in the Army Special Forces. Like, I don't think that it's fair. I know that she says that she was losing the fight, and she's making that an excuse, but like, I don't care if she was losing the fight. It's not fair for a male to fight a female. That's just scientifically not how it's supposed to be. And I don't want to sound like I'm being anything by saying this, but just, I don't think it's right, and I don't think that the sport should allow it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the picture of what he looked like before the transition, and let me just say, I, as a guy, would be hesitant. I would be hesitant to step in the ring with him, what he looked like, you know, before the transition. No, before the transition. I would be hesitant to step into a ring with him. Now, whatever post changes have gone through in the last 10 years, at the end of the day, you still have the bone structure, the power, and like your body, you were growing as a male your entire life. So, I mean, it is disadvantageous to fight females. You know, I don't know. I don't think it's fair. They have a transgender league. I feel like that is more fair. You know, they can, you know, same weight classes and everything, as long as they can gather a large enough roster. But I mean, I don't know. It's just not fair to be growing up as a man your whole life and then signing up to fight women. I just don't think that's fair, to be honest. And obviously this happened in a smaller organization, Combate Global. I don't think anything like this would fly in UFC or even Bellator or anything like that. But
I mean,
this is a start.
I mean, this is the second time a transgender fought, the last time being in 2014. So, I mean, like, I don't have any words for this. Like, I don't think that it's right. Like I said, like 5 times already, like, there's no sexism or male or female or any of that stuff. It's just not right to happen. Like, at the end of the day, he was a male. I understand that he doesn't want to be in a male's body or whatever her justification for that is. That's fine, but I just don't think that she should be fighting females.
I think once the dust settles in a couple of weeks, I think you and I should try to reach out to both her and her opponent. We'll try to get them both on, kind of get, you know, their individual opinions instead of the opinion of the public. And I think that'll be an interesting
Listen,
round of Inside the Clinch.
I would love to talk to her, and I actually did message her already. We haven't received a response yet. If we get any update on that, I'm gonna update the audience on the next podcast. I'd love to have her on. Like I said, nothing against her, but I just don't think it's right.
I agree. So guys, sorry again for missing last week of Inside the Clinch, but hopefully we made up on this round. We had some recaps, we had some predictions, and we had some news. So a little bit of everything for you guys this week. We do have a couple of upcoming potential interviews that we are trying to finalize. So definitely stay tuned for those. Going to keep that as a surprise. Not going to give away anything yet. But yeah, John, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Not really. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for sticking with us, and see you next week.
Guys, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. On Instagram, we are Inside the Clinch MMA. On Twitter, we are ITC MMA Podcast. And on YouTube and Facebook, we are Inside the Clinch MMA Podcast. Thank you guys. Catch you next week.